Hello, this is Robert Polk, WG student, and I'm taking special ed right now. And today I'm going to interview Mr. Nick Lake, and he's a K-12 MIA teacher at Dr. Martin Luther King Early College. And the positive thing, I used to work with him as a para, so he's giving me new knowledge today. Here's Nick.
Hello there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the first question I need to ask you, Nick, what professional development opportunity did you find most useful as a new special education teacher?
When I was new, I think the most valuable professional development was actually being placed into special ed classrooms across different types of settings, age groups, needs, just gaining that firsthand experience from like my graduate program. They put me in different schools around the city for 40 hours each one, and so just being there in person and really seeing these classrooms the way they really are was most helpful.
Thank you. All right. And what tools or resources do you most often use for continual growth?
Rethink is a really good site for all special educators. They have all kinds of tools and resources and really anything you would need for academics or behavior, communication, whatever. Rethink is really good. That's the first one that comes to mind.
Okay. All right. This one has to do with internal, external influence that affect education. What are ways that you can add rigor to your classroom instruction to challenge students?
I think just based on where each individual is at and their ability level, something can be rigorous for a low-functioning student that is not at all for a higher-functioning kid, but we're all in the same classroom. So I think differentiating rigor depending on the specific student is most important. Thinking about what is rigorous for this individual and not for the whole class.
Okay. What programs are in place to support subgroups of students, gifted, special education, English learners?
I believe MLK has a gifted program. I think it's more of a case manager instead of an actual course load. Special education, MLK is great. We have 4 center-based programs, which is more than any school in the district. So our students are in the appropriate setting. Sometimes if schools don't have enough centers or don't have any centers, then it's really tough to place these students where they belong. Same with English learners. We have paras that travel with students around the school to help them access English lessons. They also pull out and do English services. So kind of something for everyone.
How have you established procedures and rules to maintain order among your students?
Working specifically with students on the autism spectrum, I have learned through experience. Time out, 1 sec. That's great. Can you just take a seat? We'll be done real soon. I have learned that. Sorry, what was the question? I've learned that the more structure and routine for people on the spectrum, the better. If there's gray areas and they're not sure what to do, things start to unravel fairly quickly. So I just try to have routine and structure, and that just throughout the school year, it builds comfort with them throughout their school day.
How would you engage students who lose their motivation?
Again, speaking specifically towards my students on the autism spectrum, they're most motivated when we can talk about their personal interests. So a lot of my kids love the MCU universe, and so maybe making a literacy lesson about Spider-Man would increase their attention or their motivation, kind of specializing the subject towards what they're interested in.
Like trolls?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. How has your identity as a teacher developed over the course of your career?
I would say it's developed a lot. Thinking back 7 years ago when I started here, I I was naive, and that can be a good thing. I was kind of fearless, but at the same time, I knew there was a lot that I didn't know. And honestly, nothing is a better teacher than experience and time. And I'm happy that I stuck it out here even when it was hard, because now I feel I'm prepared for any situation. I can help my students with any problem they have. I have relationships with their parents. It's just sort of maturing over time in my role.
Okay. What skills or practice do you feel are needed to be a successful teacher?
That's a good one. Time management, prioritizing the most important things, letting the little things go sometimes. I used to be really controlling over my to-do list, and I'd have to get it all done, and I learned that sometimes the little stuff can go, and it's okay. So time management and just awareness of how I am presenting myself. My students look to me as their leader, and so does my staff, and so just being aware of how I'm coming off. If I'm in a bad mood, I try to adjust it. Yeah, time management and self-awareness.
Okay, thank you. And these two questions about content standards.
Mm-hmm.
What state standards or national standards do you use when planning instruction?
Day-to-day planning, honestly, not a whole lot. Being a center-based teacher, we have a lot of flexibility for what we're going to focus on, depending on what the kids need. However, their IEP goals are always directly related to state standards, and that's all within the IEP website, and I access it through drop-down menus, and it's all very organized that way.
Okay. And it's going to be one and the same thing. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because that is going to be the same answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, just about.
Yeah. Okay.
You got any more?
What advice do you have for finding available professional development opportunities?
Well, I've been sent in-state and out-of-state to multiple autism conferences. Those are extremely helpful. The only reason I was aware of them is because my principal forwarded me the email about it and said, do you want to do this? I'll sign you up and send you to it. So grateful for my principal for bringing that to my attention. If you don't have leadership that does that for you, I would say just Googling professional development in your area based on a certain specific area. Like you and I went to the executive functioning one a couple of years ago, and that's probably good for everyone. All adults, all students, you could learn anything from that one.
Okay.
So,
yeah, I still keep that folder.
Yeah. So if you don't have admin that shows you these opportunities, I would just seek it out yourself, and maybe your admin will pay your way to go for the day. Yeah.
Okay. How do you use data to drive instruction? Day-to-day testing, state standardized testing?
For standardized testing, that's not really applicable for our kids. They take an alternate. They don't do the regular standardized test. However, day-to-day planning, it's more like observational data, things that I notice that can be adjusted for the next day. I'm not necessarily walking around with a clipboard and taking like hard quantitative data. It doesn't work that way in my class, so it's mostly observational.
Okay. Imagine there was a conflict between two students, and one of them had an exceptional, and how would you approach such a situation? Say, for instance, we had one EL student, and one of the MA students are having a moment because they're not really understanding what's going on between them.
That's a teaching moment for two young people that are behaving out of fear or confusion. I don't think people behave that way just to be mean. I think it's because they don't know. Maybe they say something or do something that is offensive, and so I would just take it as a teaching moment, and sit down and try to mediate and talk about it and take away any mal intent and just kind of back up and talk about it.
Okay. All right. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom, boom. Same thing. All right. We'll just end it on this one.
Okay.
How would you describe your teaching style?
I have high expectations for my students, but I also am willing to back off and take breaks and slow down when needed. So I guess flexible, but with high expectations based on each individual.
Okay. Perfect. Perfect. All right, guys. Thank you. This was Robert Polk signing off, and thank you, Mr. Lake, for letting me interview him today.
You're welcome.
And you guys, I'll see y'all soon. Peace.